Do you know Pathé DIONE, the president and founder of SUNU Assurances?
No, I don't know him.
Oh, handsome.
Oh, wow. But luckily the arm hat's hidden something there.
Of course.
The choo-choo boy.
That's why the shoot hat was.
Ah, that's Granny.
Is it Granny?
Yes, it's Dad's mom.
Is she in the center?
Yes, she's in the center.
Do I agree?
Yes.
Yes.
He left us with quite a lasting intellectual imprint, especially in the academic realm, a strong motivation for studying. Indeed, he used to be a mathematics teacher. All my life, it's true that his studies were something I greatly admired in him. It's a path that I followed myself because I went beyond his level of study and really put my heart and soul into it. So that's one thing we've got in common, and our physical appearance, we are very similar. The image will stay with me for a long time. He's rather an elegant man, I would say, and above all, a man with his pipe. All these are things that will stay with me. Always a man with his pipe, the sound of his pipe, the sound of him smoking, the smells too. It's true that it's something that marks my childhood. On the bright side, I might say.
My father is Mr. Pathé DIONE. It's hard, isn't it? He was away a lot. We grew up with a father who worked hard. It was a sacrifice he made to be able to offer us all this. So, a blessing in disguise. The last time I saw him happy, I think he just bought a bank or something like that. And he talked about it with so much enthusiasm. Then I saw him, I even saw him smile.
Why was the Anne-Marie Dione Foundation named? Anne-Marie Dione was chosen by Mr. Dione in honor of his wife for her short life. And what he often says to us is, I wouldn't have got to where I am without this woman in my life. Dad was destined to be a mathematics teacher. And from what I understand, it was mom who steered him in the right direction to join the world of insurance. And as they say, behind a great man, there is a great woman. Today, that great woman has left us, but she was at the start of it all.
I will not say that my career choice was a result of his influence, because before I joined the group, I distanced myself from the family to try and build myself up on my own. And I joined the group first of all, not really to work in the SUNU Group, but to get closer to my father and get to know him. And when you reach a certain age, when you become a father, maybe you want to get closer to your father. So I took the decision, whatever the business, I want to know who this man was, how he managed to achieve in his life. We hear everyone praising him, but we couldn't feel and understand who he was and what he had done if we didn't try to get closer and learn. And that's what I did. And that's why I'm happy to have joined the group, because it enabled me not to only get closer to my father and develop a relationship with him, but also to have a professional career that makes sense to me, because it's my family legacy and it's something we are doing for the continent.
I'm the elder son of Pathé DIONE. My name is a composition from two of his friends' names. One is Seydou Cissé and the other is Tieno Cissé. My father learned the Quran, and the fact that he was in Europe for years didn't influence his religion, his belief. He remained a believer, a very strong believer. And when he recites the Quran, for me, that's when I'm really amazed. He can be relaxed, chatting, explaining things to you about his professional life or his life or his career, his experience. He can be strict when you do something stupid, when you miss out on something, because he has a very, very rigorous upbringing, because my grandfather was rigorous. He was a captain in the army, so they had an education, a very, very strict education, and that's what makes him what he became.
He's a good family man, despite the workload he had. He knew how to be there for his family in his own way. And we give him credit for that because it's not easy to reconcile work and private life. He could also count on his children, on me. And at the end of the day, he had the serenity that allows someone to succeed in their professional life as well, to have that peace at home that allows him to succeed. It may have different characters, know how to deal with that, and it's the most beautiful thing. Papa Pat is my dad. I've known him since I was 3 years old. I'm very proud of him. I'm proud today to be with everyone to celebrate his 80th birthday. In 2019, we celebrated Easter together. And what I admired was that he knew the history of St. Paul by heart. So for someone who is Muslim, he knew the story of a saint by heart of another religion. Culturally, he really is a scholar, and at the same time, he does activities with us. That's what I was explaining earlier. For once, I always remember in 2018, he swam with us, with the sharks. He came with us. We were all scared. It was with Samir and Anne. In the end, he was the first to dive into the water, and then we followed him. And that is the example that is showing your children the way, taking risks and not letting them be afraid.
I am Mr. Pathé Dione's sister-in-law. I married his brother, his late brother, with my family. He remained very present. Well, we are affected because when you lose someone you love who was very close to you, of course it hurts. He backed us up. He supported us. He was really present, just like when I was younger. As I told you, I used to go and take refuge and tell him my little worries. It was the same thing. It was the same thing. 10 times, I would say. In the name of God, the most merciful. My name is Gael Dione. I am Tala Dione's little sister. Tala Dione is Pathé Dione's father. Pathé Dione learnt the Quran from birth and was then enrolled in a French school. He never misbehaved. He never did. God gave him and his children the right path.
Pathé could tell that his aunt, Gail, has children and that they are your children who are well placed. But Pathé didn't want to see any of that. So he looks after his mom really well.
His childhood friends, until they disappeared, one by one, he always supported them. Always supported them.
From the start, there was a father and son relationship. I was recruited in, as I said, 1999. And then in October 2000, my father died. So Mr. Dione was there for me. Since then, he replaced my father. He became my father. So there you have it. He's been with me through it all. And so the end of the year celebration and all that, we celebrate together as a family.
Well, as you know, I am a Muslim. I was born in a mixed ethnic group, a bit of secular. I followed the same path as all young Africans. It was a route that took me home. I used to go to the Quranic school. At the time, there was no kindergarten or nursery schools or anything like that. We studied the Quran until age 10. And then while we were going to school, which means that if you compare it to France, we arrive much older than the young people who were with us. I was born at the end of 1941. At the time of independence, I was a minor. When I left Paris with my wife, Anne-Marie, this is where we lived, opposite my parents-in-law. The building opposite is at number 4 Avenue de la Grange. That is where my parents-in-law lived. I bought a flat here on the 3rd floor at number 5 Avenue de la Grange. So I lived on the street while I was working at the UAP as Africa director. That is where my wife, Karim's mom, and her sister, Antaline, that is where we stayed until she died because it was opposite her parents' house. And when her father died, and when she passed away, my mother-in-law was a big advantage as I was traveling all the time because I oversaw 17 subsidiaries in Africa. So my mother-in-law looked after Karim and Anteline because they were young. That is why I don't like to go down the street very often.
He suffered a lot for a long time without anyone knowing anything about it because he hadn't changed a thing in his life. One day, he had me called when I appeared after he had greeted me at a length and we had a chat as usual. He stood up, went to a truck which he opened and took out a large piece of percale. He's a deeply religious man and believes in God, which is why he does a lot of good. He helps his fellow man. He doesn't count. For him, it's not about himself. It's the others. That's his spiritual dimension. But I think he's also had some wonderful encounters in his life. And among these encounters was his first wife, Anne-Marie, who was an extraordinary methodical lady, which helps her a lot. But there is also something very important to tell you. Pathé DIONE is a jack of all trades. Do you know that Pathé DIONE is one of the founding members of the French football club, Paris Saint-Germain? A lot of people don't know that. He was a founding member of Paris Saint-Germain.
On Emile Dubois Street, this is where we used to come to play football. And then, because we didn't have any money, we would walk back to the 14th district. But everyone, all the young people, during the holidays who were in the district of Paris, this is what we call Nawetan in Senegal. In other words, after the championship, the young people who want to play in the neighborhood have to set up small neighborhood championships.
What attracted me most about Mr. Dione is that he is not obsessed with money. I have rubbed shoulders with quite a few people who have fortunes, but Mr. Dion's behavior regarding money is different. He often tells me that it's not money that interests him. He often tells me that it's not money that interests him. He is someone who today has billions in his bank account, which I manage, but not a single franc goes to Mr. Dione for his own business. Everything I manage for Mr. Dione is to give to people. Everything I manage for Mr. Dione is to give to people and help a large part of his family.
Pathé Dione has been my pupil. It was around 75, 76. After studying math, Pathé decided, in my opinion, it was a good decision to take interest in economics. And then, after the debate, we hit it off. We stayed in touch, and he said to me, I want to do a postgraduate thesis with you. And he defended his postgraduate thesis under my supervision at Paris 2. What strikes me is that he's a very loyal friend. He's totally loyal to those who helped him to realize this project, which wasn't easy at first, difficult, but in the end, it was worth it, and it is worth it. He's someone who helps young people.
He's a Baobao. We thank him for everything he has done for Africa and for young people in Côte d'Ivoire, in Senegal, like he does everywhere. Really, we thank him for everything. We can't forget him for the good he does for everyone. We are here today because he puts something in place and everyone's on the door. Everyone is paying their bills, everyone's eating, so we can't forget that.
Which hero characterizes your father?
Who was he? You know?
Sunjata Kita. He's creating an empire and uniting people around the world.
As he says.
We follow.
That's it. He stepped on my toes.
Call the name of a Senegalese hero now, because Sunjata is a Malian.
Maïsia Wali Diomane.
Maïsa Wali Diomane, he's our grandfather and also a hero. He's been in the news here too, just about everywhere. In Senegal, the first scholarship holder. Yeah, the first scholarship holder.
Thank you to everyone, to my little brothers and sisters who are here with their wives and husbands and their children. It so happens that I was born on the 29th of December 1941 here in Dakar. And my mother-in-law was born on the 28th of December 1941 in Belly in the end. I told her we were going to combine our two birthdays. It's Henriette Mayaki. She's the mother of my wife, Marie Rain Mayaki. 80 years old. Obviously, that is a lot of days. I like to thank you very much for being here. I'd like to let you eat, listen to some music. I'd like to let you eat, listen to some music. And first of all, I'd like to introduce you to the children who gave me this gift and thank them in front of you and pray for them too. I'm going to call the eldest, Seydou. Karim, and Daline, Jessica, Samir, and Anne. Anne is the mastermind. She organized everything from Paris. So a special round of applause for the Dion family. Now, if he ever comes with their children, I don't know if he'll have room, so I'd like to introduce them first. There is one presence that is particularly dear to me because she is my father's junior sister. There were only two children of my maternal grandmother, Aunt Ndiaye, my aunt, Gail Dion. Here with us, she's over 90 years old. She really wanted to be present. She is next to her daughter. I really didn't want to, but she was reluctant to attend the ceremony.
Here is a Lingwe, a daughter of a Lingwe, descendant of a Serene from Dakar. This is Tala's sister, your mother. Aunt Ndiaye is buried in Yombu. She is a descendant of Mariam de Mati Diop. Suleimani May, your grandfather, is Muse Anta. You are the grandson of Muse Anta. You are related to the whole country. Pathé, you are the eldest. As a good elder, you have looked after your brothers and sisters. That is why your aunt is here today. Mumatala, your father left with his grades on his shoulders. Antandiaye, your mother, lies in Yombul. Antandiaye of Mariam Diop. Kudia, grandmother of Mariam Diop. Mariam of Mati Diop. Suleimani May, Muse Anta, your grandfather. The country is yours. You are the heir of Dial Diop, who chased Daniel Amanri Ngone all the way to Saint Louis. The land of your ancestors is the best of all lands. You are on your ancestors' land. Dial Ngone Mbengwe, your grandfather, to whom you are doubly heir.
I am really moved because I wasn't expecting this. I would like to thank the minister for the budget and finance and his wife for honoring us with their presence. The former Minister of Justice, Dudu Ndoye, the Minister Jibril Ngom, who have done me the honor of accepting my invitation. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I haven't prepared a speech. I just wanted to express my gratitude to Marie Rain, to her mother, to everyone. I am not going to name you all. The children are here. They've all grown up. I'm pleased because I was afraid they would escape me. But Alhamdulillah is all I can say. May God bless you all. May God's blessings be upon them. I see that they have roots, and that is all I wanted. Praise God, He gave to me. Praise God, He gave it to me.
SUNU today is the leader in life insurance in our Umua zone. and beyond the Umwa zone, SUNU is present in Ghana, Liberia, Nigeria, and Guinea, in the countries of the non-CFA zone. It is a group that makes most of its investment in the capital market in Africa, whether at the level of the BRVM or the CMAC. And the other peculiarity is that it is still an independent group. SUNU is not just about business. SUNU is about ensuring that everyone has access to financial services, and particularly insurance, which for many people is still a matter for the rich. Saham passed by, SUNU jostled a bit, but didn't fall. This is an African group I set up for Africa. There is not a single penny that is collected on the African continent that is placed elsewhere for any reason whatsoever. Everything that we collect as savings, everything that we collect as premiums is entirely reinvested on the African continent for the development of our countries. Mr. Dion, we worked together at the Assassi. Together, we went through the General Assembly of the FANAF, and we entered in France at the UEP International as at the beginning one of the assistants of Mr. Fiamma, and step by step became one of the assistants of Mr. Fiamma, and it is during this period that I became president of the FANAF against the opinion of the UPA, but with the assistant of the representative of the UPA, who did the opposite of what he was told to do, Mr. Dion, because at the time, UAP, the African Union, was considered a foreign company, and FANAF, they were the dinosaurs of African insurance, who did not want to have the representatives, a director of a subsidiary of a foreign group, at the head of FANAF. It was a very tough battle in Bamako, and he played a big part in that battle, in that victory. The first thing we did was buy a small business in the Central African Republic, and we started with that. It wasn't yet called SUNU, and we didn't quite have a name for it. For the small story, one day, Pat came back to me after a trip, as usual, in one of the company where he was still running business, and he says, "We have found the name of our company. We are going to call it SUNU." And he says, we are going to call it SUNU because that means ours is Wolof. It turns out that AXA no longer wanted to keep companies that were too small to be managed by a large group, and AXA offered to buy these companies from Pathé DIONE. So there were several of us with him. We said what we are going to do, because we still need a bit of money. We can't walk. So everyone, I know that all my savings, he says, okay, here we go. And so we put it together like that. He left the AXA group, which wasn't easy either. We had a life to continue there. He carried on too. I remember the first meeting we had, but I stayed with the group. The board meetings we had, we looked at the account and said, well, maybe we will do something. We'll have to. Things have to work. And the small companies that had been bought, sold by AXA to Pathé, to SUNU, our business, right? Well, we had to. We had to make sure that they were profitable, that they could provide the resources to grow. We can't stay with 2 or 3 little pieces of confetti here and there. he had a big advantage, which was that all the people in these companies, particularly those in management positions, he knew. He knew them because he had recruited them. And I remember a lot of, but the group that we were a group of friends who had got together, a lot of them didn't believe in it very much. Oh well, with these little things, they'll never get away with it. Oh well, yes, well, they will.
Yeah, from then on, I did some nice things in Africa, and then,
A bit of nostalgia.
yeah, of course you do. After all, the UAP was created in 1804,
Yes.
and I was one of the first black persons to become director. Still, it wasn't much to do, was it? Yeah, 17 subsidiaries on the African continent, as well as being a director of Africa. I was almost the only insurer in the group. I was also the equivalent of the boss of the equivalent of SUNU services. You've got 50 employees who were providing assistance, but not just in Africa. They gave assistance just about everywhere. And then you did the business.
Mr. Dion, I don't think that when he started, he imagined that 25 years later we would be at this level. Just two figures. In 99, we had sales of 800 million francs when they started. In 2021, we had a turnover of 234 billion francs. So you see, whatever your vision, the idea, what is constant is to say, I remain a professional. I am still an expert in my field and I work with many people. Today, we have SUNU service in Abidjan. When we started sub service, there were 2 people. Today, there are about 60 employees. So we adapt over time. I'm impressed by the fact that in many African markets, SUNU is number 1. And when it's not number 1, it's usually number 2. What struck me, and maybe we will come back to this, was the way the group was able to deal with the attack by the Moroccan group, Sahama, an attempt by the Moroccan group Sahama to take control of the SUNU Group, which was run by a remarkable Moroccan African businessman who became a minister, which he is Mullah Hafid El Lalami. So I took it as a kind of clumsy aggression, not transparent, no warning, a surreptitious takeover. I find that rather hypocritical, or very hypocritical. But fortunately, Pathé was able to muster the financial ammunition to counter this proposal made by Sahama. And then that's it. We do not talk about it anymore. An old story. But at that time, it was difficult for Pathé.
He was someone who would find it difficult to accept that foreign groups enter into his business, so that means big fights, also big resources. So to mobilize all this is for expansion. When you are expansionist, you are also Africanist, because you can just say, we only work in Côte d'Ivoire, we only work in Senegal or in France, and so on. But he got this openness there for Africa. He has this openness towards Africa.
African companies are often very medium-sized, very modest. They struggle with local content. They are fighting for the market of the multinationals. But here we have what is truly a regional champion, which was born of the will of a man and his collaborators, which breaks all the patterns we have known until now. It's not easy because our investment codes don't provide support for African national champions. All our investment codes talk about foreign direct investors. We talk about encouraging investment, but we have never thought about these investors could be Africans. And I think that one of SUNU's merits may be to push our investment directions, but also our ministries of finance to review their models, their scheme to integrate Afro-African investment.
I am more confident that the group is already solid, strong, and structured, so it's something that can't fall apart. We can only improve on that. That is to say, build on the foundations that were built by Mr. Dione and add our own little progressive flaws. We, the second generation of the SUNU Group, are going to try to add another level, and we are going to do everything we can to encourage and mobilize the third generation to continue the great adventure. So yes, of course, 100% are dedicated to helping the group and our continent progress.
Today, when you say the SUNU Group, you obviously mean Mr. Pathé DIONE. And indeed, the spirit of the SUNU Group is. At the same time, we build it in the spirit of Mr. Pathé DIONE. So it's these values that we are trying to build. And today's objective is to ensure that these values are shared by the group's employees. It's been able to maintain these values of work well done, rigor, perseverance, and above all, respect for commitment given, which is the foundation of our profession.
We are one of the groups with the most women, or at least one of the African insurance groups with the most women at the head of subsidiaries. And I already know that in the years 2010 to 2015, there were already several women running subsidiaries in the group. And when we arrived at the meetings, the international meetings where most of the leaders of the other group, especially men, came, we were seen arriving in a group. We were called the Amazons of Mr. Dione's group. They even say the Amazons from SUNU Group. And that's to show that there was already this particularity. But I insist on the fact that it wasn't because we wanted to respond to a fashion trend, but the requirement was, even if not more, for female managers that are than for male managers. It was the results that counted.
I recognize when someone does something, someone better than me, or someone who has been luckier, or who has more means, who does things that I don't do, or that I haven't had the means to do. We both think about it. And then there is one who succeeds and one who doesn't. But structurally, today, I think he got a bit of a head start. Very small. I will manage to catch up.
Today, there are a lot of people behind the vision who are at least working to spread it and communicate throughout the different countries where we are privately owned. And what's important above all is that at any time, there are job opportunities in international groups where you can get paid twice, 3 times better. We can have much more interesting advantages, but we prefer to follow the vision. That's why we are here. As long as this vision is present, we know that we won't have all the advantages of a large group. Today, we work, for example, in the mobile phone sector as a head of communications. You've got your castle in the sky, you've got your cottage on the waterfront, but even if you have a comfortable salary, because you are in SUNU Group and you won't have as many benefits, you're doing something for your community. You're doing something for Africa, and it's a legacy you leave behind. So it's important to understand that this is the vision we're talking about. I hope that the generations to come will also understand that this is the vision. We don't just look for the money, for the benefits, for the gain. We also want to make a contribution. It's really a give back.
People always say that Africa is the continent with the most resources and the most wealth. But it's the continent where we cry the most because our young people can't take their destinies into their own hands. And that's what I think this generation is instilling in young people. He himself has taken his journey into his own hands, saying to himself, I am going to work for Africa. And that is why every time there are meetings, every time he finds himself somewhere, he says, I created this group and all the funds that are in this group, none of it will be spent outside Africa. I also invest in Africa, in African companies, in African states. His confidence is in African states. So he shouldn't be disappointed by the young people who don't come behind.
Mohammed will be confirmed as a group managing director at the next board meeting on Thursday, inshallah. He will be assisted by Joel and Karim as deputy managing directors, and then afterwards the hierarchy, Mohammed inshallah will pass the baton to Joel, and then one day we'll pass it on to Karim. That way at least there will be continuity in the company. It is a decision that was taken in May.
A decision has been taken in May. We have recognized the governance of the group. I have been appointed managing director of SUNU Participations, which is the group's holding company, which manages the whole group. I have two people working alongside me, Karim Dion and Joel Amosu. In fact, it's the same team that has worked together for 20 years. That continuity to work together with a simple reorganization of functions. So today, we are in 17 countries. We have 26 insurance companies. We have a bank, and the second one is on the way. But as we move forward, we are structuring the group differently. In any case, we are adapting to the environment, which is changing fast. We are also adapting to the needs of our clients, who are becoming increasingly demanding, who are very digital, who are also trying to have a global vision of the relationship with insurers, with their bankers. So this is more or less the vision that we have, that we are trying to develop in Africa. Once again, I would like to thank you for your confidence in me. I'm aware of the responsibility. In any case, I hope that together we can continue to carry the SUNU Group high. You can count on me, you can count on Joel and Karim too, and together we will keep the vision alive of making SUNU a Pan-African group, a leader in financial services.
He cut his shroud with his own hand. Having finished, he asked me to accompany him to a place away from his house. There, in his presence, asked me to show him the slave Mbare, the gestures and details of funeral cleansing. We returned to his room then and contemplated Ngoma. Contrite of suffering, he left visibly mattered, as we could see on his body. When I got up to leave, he asked me if I would assist him when the time will come.